Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This week's show, we're talking about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. Sorry. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about Mission Yozakura Family, Season 1, Episode 14. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. So the episode actually opens to the incident that we still don't know too much about, but it's the reason why Kishiro has the sister complex he has, which almost makes you wonder who. I kind of forgot about that till this episode came up. I was like, all right, like the incident that led to. Because it was like by the time Kishiro had gotten to Mitsumi, like there was like a fire all around. So it seems like it's this particular incident that she was having a nightmare about. It's interesting parallels that Taiyo was just having a nightmare about his family circumstances, and it seemed like Mitsumi was doing the same. We know it was something traumatic that led to like her having the white hair, that streaks in her hair. I wasn't till that like the opening happened. I was like, was it her mom's death? Like, was it all in the same day? Because we don't know. Once again, the father has not been brought up in the conversation. We've seen Mitsumi's mom, but they've kind of kept her father as an enigma. And we see like a white-haired dude holding her, surrounded by the fire, being like, I'm sorry. So I'm like, okay, is that supposed to be her dad? But later on, when we see Makoto talking to people from Tanpopo, we see that same dude again. So I'm like, is that her father? Like, is her father, like, was he part of the Yosakuras, married into it like Bon and Taiyo did, but then like he ended up betraying him to go to Tanpopo? Did he start? Well, we know Tanpopo at least existed back then with Mitsumi's mom, but we don't know how long this group has been around. We know the Yosakuras have a very long history, but I wonder has Tanpopo, sorry. Has Tanpopo had just as an extensive history? Like, is it like a sister organization in a lot of ways, or is it just kind of a newer organization? A lot of, rhetorical questions this show might give us answers to. Maybe those are important questions, maybe they're not. But I just wonder, like, if that is her dad or not, because like that, like, not less her dad died. Well, because we dealt with like the grandparent side of like kind of the Yosakura side of things, but it could be like, right, those are Mitsumi's mom's parents, but what about her dad's parents? That not less that's her, because he looks too old to be her dad, like the white hair and everything could just be a character trait, but it feels like that could be more like especially he looks like he's supposed to be an older character, so maybe it's her dad, but I get the inkling like he looks like he's supposed to be a grandfather, so not less that's her grandfather on her dad's side of the family or something. Who knows? I don't know how many people she's really talked to about that, having that nightmare and whatnot. I mean, it's not like Taiyo really told anyone about his nightmare, because Mitsumi sees Taiyo hard at work looking into Tanpopo, and she just kind of like closes the door while he's working and I think goes back to sleep, but just kind of seeing that he's up work, like, that's probably going to get to her, knowing like it isn't just about, he's kind of putting aside his family circumstance. Like, yes, he has a motivation of, yes, my family is connected to this, but more so than anything, what takes place present, because it's like he can't do anything for his family. He could get justice for him, but the priority is taking care of Mitsumi because she's the current target, and her life is in the most danger when it comes to Tanpopo. But either way, when it's all said and done, I wasn't expecting Taiyo to wake up on top of a boat in the middle of the ocean. Turns out Kishiro was being like super nice to him, and even Taiyo was like, what the fuck is all of this? Like, why is he being so nice? This is so weird. I know he's going to basically offer me lunch and then throw me in and be like, oh, you thought the lunch was for you? Not your lunch. And even I love Kishiro. I was like, oh, you thought I was going to throw you overboard? It's like, I was thinking that, and yet you're able to read me like a book. But I thought Kishiro was kind of forced to be nice to him because of Mitsumi, but it's like, no, even with Mitsumi, he still kind of treats Taiyo like crap, so I doubt even Mitsumi would be able to sway him that much. But it was meant for the purposes of luring him into a false sense of security, because it's like, right, this is training to push him even further. That, right, you want to go up against Tanpopo, like, you are a bronze rank, and the fact is, our younger siblings got to bronze rank while they were, like, still kids. So you have to kind of build up your experience. So send out basically a sign to like, hey, you want to come kill Taiyo? Come and kill Taiyo. And a whole bunch of like mercenaries and assassins type come, and Taiyo is able to beat everybody. But then he also has to proceed and deal with an incoming torpedo, because like Taiyo had made it clear like he wasn't going to give up, because he's like, right, he might not be a Yosakura, he might just be a regular person, but he's determined to see this through for Mitsumi's sake. And it's like, everyone in that family is dedicated to Mitsumi, but I think Kishiro sees a lot of himself, maybe a lot of who he used to be before he became the sister-obsessed person, I think he sees that when it comes to protecting Mitsumi, he will always be bound by his trauma, his feelings of failure. Because everyone in the family has their quirks and their issues. But other than like his sister obsession and sister complex is his, but it has never really been a detriment so far. But maybe in Kishiro's eyes, it's like, no, it is a detriment. I can't be I'm still very good at what I do, but I might have hit my wall until I'm able to forgive myself for that trauma. Because Mitsumi would always forgive him, but it's like he can't forgive himself. That's how guilt works. So I feel like he sees it's a weird reference to make. I keep making a lot of weird anime references. It's kind of like, spoilers, Ichigo is supposed to be the perfect opponent for Aizen in Bleach because he's the only person that's never seen Aizen's Bankai. Because once you've seen it, you can never beat Aizen. So that put Ichigo as one of the only people that could defeat Aizen. So I wonder if it's kind of a similar thing where it's you are motivated just as much as me to protect Mitsumi. And the fact of the matter is you haven't been tainted by that guilt necessarily like he has, that it drove him insane. So maybe there's something along those lines. Once again, I'm probably reading way too much into it, but I think that's kind of something interesting to think about. But, yeah. Ship blown up. I love that Taiyo is also helping rescue some of the people on the ship, even though they were there to kill him. It's like, oh, thanks for saving me. And so now he has to, Kishiro's like, right, if you want to bail out, you can. But for him, it's like, no, I'm seeing this through for Mitsumi's sake. And he's like, good. He likes to see that determination in his eyes. And so when the time comes, he has to deal with the second torpedo after getting flung in the sky, hearing the ding and the bright star in the sky, kind of very a la Team Rocket blasting off again style. And he has to stop the torpedo. It's like, right, cool, I'm going to survive the torpedo coming this way. Kishiro is like that. But all these other people, they're going to be dead. Especially because he made it clear, especially going up against Kuragao, that he didn't want any more death. And it's like, so he's being responsible because it's like, well, to be fair, all these people are here because of me. Yes, it was Kishiro, but it was for the sake of my training. So he kind of makes me responsible for these people. So if I'm going to do anything, I'm not going to let anyone die on my watch if I have the power to stop it. And Kishiro is really testing Taiyo with this, because it's like, right, up until now, anytime there's been a situation saving people, you've basically sacrificed yourself to save them. But it's like, that can't keep going. That can't be your main operation of dealing with, you put yourself at too much of a disadvantage like that. So you need to show that you've learned. And he applies everything and uses everything he's learned from his siblings to stop the torpedo just in time. And everyone's congratulating, oh, thank you for saving us. And then they proceed to go after the sub. He's riding a torpedo as Taiyo is hanging on for dear life, and then he proceeds to use his wires to slice through that submarine like it's nothing. Because this is supposed to be Tampopo territory, because it's supposed to be one of the routes they use for their smuggling operations, something like that. But Kishiro also reconfirms something for Taiyo, saying right, that hotel, that suite that you were looking into, the Dandelion, you were on the right mark. He's like, Seiji hit me up with some info that yes, Makoto is at that spot. And it's he's probably been sitting on that information longer than Taiyo has, but he wanted Taiyo to come to that information on his own, just to see how determined he is, worked so hard to figure out that information. He stumbled across it on his own, so that is pretty impressive without relying on their other siblings. But it leads to this interesting thing later on when they kind of send Taiyo in alone, and Futaba is overhearing this and looks at Kishiro. I thought she was gonna reprimand him, but she's like, "What are you doing with that kid?" He's like, "I don't know what you're talking about." She's like, "Oh, look at you being pretty," and he shuts it down. He's like, "Right, there's a correlation between his family's death and Tonpopo. That's all there is to it. There's nothing more." And Futaba was like, "Really? Sure." That is despite everything he does, Kishiro has taken a liking to Taiyo. Like I said, he sees probably a lot of himself in Taiyo. Like I said, an unburdened version of himself in Taiyo. And it's you have the potential and capabilities to be so great. And I know, this is important to you, but it's also like this is for the sake of protecting Mitsumi, so it's kind of important in that regard. Because I feel like if it was like Kyoshiro could easily kind of go in there himself, it'd be probably more proficient for him or one of the other siblings to go in. But for him to send Taiyo in, it's like, you need to see this through because it's something personal for you, just like it's personal for us because all of us have a vendetta against them if they had something to do with Mitsumi's mom's death. But him sending in Taiyo seemed like it was just kind of like, I'm letting you get yours, but it's also because I believe you are the best person for the job, and just like he's putting a lot of faith in Taiyo, and he just doesn't want to be like, hey, don't let anyone like misconstrue this situation to believe like I'm starting to like you and believe in you and trust in you. But I love Taiyo's attempts to get to the higher floors, blow up in his face. First attempt was to go through the elevator, but the face recognition, if you're not recognized, you get a sprung boxing glove to the face. He tried to climb on the outside of the building, but a couple was fighting. Like, the guy was upset because she was spending so much money. She's calling him a cheapskate. She's throwing stuff at the window. It's cracking. I think that's such an interesting effect on the animation of what the glass looked like, because it's not, it like warps. It doesn't like fully break. The glass like warps rather than like fully shatter in a more traditional way. It's still interesting. But Taiyo found his way up because like, oh, this lady was trying to get her pet sent up to the 47th floor. And how did Taiyo deal with that? I didn't know how he was going to resolve that situation. Cool, he disguised himself as the pet, as the attendee like ended up taking him up to the higher floors. I was like, okay, that's one way to deal with that. And obviously this also showcases the fact is, this gave us an insight to, hey, we have kooky villains in this show, which was kind of already kind of known regardless. I mean, Kuro Yuri was kind of a kooky villain, but then you get to the Kurogao and you're like, oh, there's something deeper there. Just like any villain, like Makoto, like he seems in this episode, he's like kooky, making like a bear shirt saying Kuma on it to give to, what's the guy's name, Naho? And, was it Naho or Nanhon? Something like that. And once again, just showing the kooky guy side of like, I don't know if these guys are going to be like the main antagonists of the entire series, or are they just going to be like this arc in the story, they're the main antagonists, but there's eventually going to be others. Once again, there's multiple organizations after the Yozakura, specifically Mitsumi, so it's not just them. Their modus operandi, who know, like we know it's after the Somenin, so it's like, what's to stop any other organization from coming after them for that exact reason, whatever the case may be. I figured they had something in their back pocket ready because Makoto's kind of like, right, there's going to be an opportunity to test this out. And then like, no, home, like I can't remember home dude's name now, the hulking dude that's with him. The moment he's like, oh, you can test it out now. I was like, cool. Literally everything I brought up last episode, I was like, there's no way that's not going to have like there's no way you can have like power like a Yozakura without any like ramifications. Granted, whether that's because like if you use straight up true blue Yozakura blood, maybe it's different. Maybe the backlash wouldn't be as potent, or maybe it would be as potent, or maybe be even worse. But they have made their own version. It's the Hazakura. It's not as potent as Yozakura blood, but, you know, and this particular version has less side effects. Home Dude didn't want to use it, but to take out Taiyo, and he's like, right, I know Home Dude is creepy, referencing Makoto, but I owe him my life. So it becomes that thing of like, it's probably an organization of people with their own goals and ambitions, and it's like, right, where it kind of reminds me of Trail's reference of the video. It reminds me of, it's probably like Ouroboros. Like everyone in Ouroboros is gathered under the Grandmaster's plan, but there's a lot of people with their own, you know, missions. Like a great example would be like, well, we saw Vita doing her own thing. She had her own ambitions on what she wanted. That didn't fully align with Ouroboros. Same thing for the Still Mated. So stuff like that. Just, you know, some people are all about the plot, about like, right, let's do this together. I'm all about the organization, but there's people in that organization who have their own mode. So I wonder if like Tanpopo is kind of like that too, where it's like, oh, it's made of people who are working together for the greater like prize of the organization, but also have their individual reasons being there. Like the white-haired dude that, like I said, seems to be, maybe that is like Matsumi's grandfather on her dad's side. he is the one that shows, well, it seems like, at least from what we saw from behind, it looked like that might have been him showing up at the building, like the hotel building, near the end of the episode. But either way, Home Dude tests out the Yozakura, and obviously Taiyo stands no chance. Home Dude's transformation gives me like an amalgamation of different things. The first thing that came to my mind is like, because of the live action, so it's like even closer in my head. I don't know if I'd even immediately thought of it if it wasn't for the live action, but the younger Toguro sibling, when he like transforms, it kind of reminds me of that from Yu Yu Hakusho. It also gives me vibes of D. Grayman. I have not seen D. Grayman in a long time, so forgive me. The people with the like dark gray skin that work under the Millennium Earl. I forgot what their names are. Aren't they like number 2? I don't remember. It's been so long since I've seen anything D. Grayman related, so I don't remember a lot of details. But I was like, I can't remember what they're, because of the grayish skin. It kind of gives me that same vibe as well when he transformed. Kind of also gave me a little Full Metal Alchemist vibe too. I guess with like how ripped he is, he kind of reminds me of Greed when he transformed. Obviously different skin colors, but you get what I'm trying to say. So either way, Taiyo is completely and utterly outclassed. Like, the guy destroyed his gun, laid him out after one punch. Luckily, he's still like alive and conscious, which is impressive in its own right. But luckily, Shinzo shows up at the end, backing him up, because he's the only one that's available right now. Oh, I wonder if that's the case, because like Futaba was at the house, but maybe she had just came back from a mission. But like him sending Shinzo in particular, maybe that's going to be more to it. Because we've seen Shinzo like obviously in a dire situation, not having his guns, but we haven't really gotten an opportunity to see Shinzo go all out. Like, we haven't gotten an opportunity to see any of them really go all. I don't even know if you could even make the argument they went all out in episode 1 when they were all challenging him, going up against Kishiro. I don't even know if that was them going all out either. So it's going to definitely be interesting to see where the next episode takes us with all of this. Will this kind of go the way, I mean, it seems like this is a pretty tough opponent, and I don't know if they're going to remove him from the board this quickly, because he definitely seems like the type of guy that's like, yeah, you're probably going to run into him multiple times. Like, if not, you're not going to beat him now, you're going to end up beating him later on in the story. Definitely feels like that. So, and once again, Shinzo's weakness being like if he doesn't have a weapon in his hand. Granted, as long as it's something that can be utilized as a weapon in his hand, he's good. But we'll see. Like, because I doubt his arsenal will outlast Home Dude. So, plus if they might benefit from, yes, there might be less side effects, but there might still be side effects enough that render him at least vulnerable and momentarily enough for Shinzo and Taiyo to be able to do something, maybe get some backup, or maybe just run for the heels. Once again, they've got to contend with that. Plus, there's the old man that's coming upstairs too, so they're about to get backed into a corner. Like, Home Dude is an issue. Probably old man is probably 10 times more. Like I said, we don't know the hierarchy of this organization yet, so where everyone stands. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see where the next episode ultimately ends up taking us going forward with all of this. It's kind of interesting. It took a little while, but I because I've been tearing through these episodes, I have caught up pretty quickly. So now I'm fully caught up with where the show is right now. So I'm going to be watching it week to week from now on. So either way, that's just a me thing. Just whatever the case. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.